السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وإذا سألك عبادي عني فإني قريب أجيب دعوة الداعي إذا دعان فليستجيبوا لي وليؤمنوا بي لعلهم يرشدون. وقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم: اتقي دعوة المظلوم. أو كما قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, all praise is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our nourisher, our sustainer, our creator. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is the Rabb and the Lord of the Alameen, this entire universe. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has fashioned insan, fashioned mankind in the best of fashions. لَقَدْ خَلَقَنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. And we have created man in the best of fashions. Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us in the Quran, وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ. If any one of my servants asks you about me, say to him that I am near. Now, when we think, understand that a people may engaging in dua and prayer and supplication and hoping and praying to Almighty Allah Ta'ala, but at the end of it, there would be those who will be questioning and they will be asking as if though Almighty Allah Ta'ala should respond whenever they make a dua. But Allah Ta'ala is saying, وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ. When my servant asks from me. So it is not a matter of if my servant asks for me, it is more a time, just like how Almighty Allah Ta'ala, He is waiting. You know, when you are anticipating, when the servant turns to Almighty Allah Ta'ala, because Allah is the Rabb of the Alameen, and you are making a dua and a prayer and a supplication, and you are from the servant of Almighty Allah Ta'ala, ibadi, to be from the servants of Allah, meaning there is nothing below that, because you have a master, and who is the master of the universe? So when my servant asks from me, when my servant turns to me, وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ. I am near. This is the Creator. The servant turns to Almighty Allah Ta'ala. Almighty Allah Ta'ala is near, so much so that ujibu da'wat ad-da'i idha da'an. I respond to the dua of the da'i, the one who calls, when he makes that call, when he prays, when he makes that dua. Ujibu da'wat ad-da'i idha da'an. It is when we understand that Almighty Allah Ta'ala is responding and will respond to the dua of every person when he turns to Almighty Allah Ta'ala. And turning to Almighty Allah Ta'ala, what does it really entail? What does it mean? It means that a servant of Allah understands that he, the creator of the entire universe, when he decrees a matter, when he responds to the dua of the one that is calling unto him, not anyone that is calling, but a da'i, it is also preceded by the alif lam, means everyone that turns to Allah Ta'ala with a dua and a prayer. So Almighty Allah Ta'ala, it is in His wisdom that He may respond immediately, He may give chance, He may give something even better at a later stage, but every person's dua is listened to. The question is, do we turn to Almighty Allah Ta'ala only in the time when we need our Creator, or we remember Almighty Allah Ta'ala even in our good times? تعرف على الله في الرخاء يعرفك في الشدة. When we remember our Creator in times of rakha, in times of goodness, in times of happiness and joy, then there comes a time where a person is in anxiety, he is in grief, he is in depression. So our connection with Almighty Allah Ta'ala should not be only at times of difficulty. And that is the life of the believer. In every condition, he is connected to his Creator. And here we are on the day, on this again entering, and very soon, shortly, we will enter into the last 10 days of this month of Muharram, another month of the new Islamic year. And what lessons have we taken from the time we've entered into the new Islamic year in the year 1441? Very soon, again, we will be waiting and discussing about the new Islamic month of Safar, and then again the month of Rabi'ul Awwal, where we reflect on the demise of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or is it the birth of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Because after the last and the final Hajjatul Wida', how long did the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam live? And it was, how many days had passed by until the 10th of Rabiul Awwal, or when it came to that time, the day where he sallallahu alaihi wasallam had left this dunya, that left this temporary abode and journeyed into the life of the Akhirah. And hence we would remind ourselves of the verse of the Holy Quran, وَمَا مُحَمَّدٌ إِلَّا رَسُولٌ. Muhammad is only a messenger. قَدْ خَلَتْ مِنْ قَبْلِهِ رُسُلٌ. Messengers had passed away before him. أَفَإِمْ مَاتَ. If he dies or he is killed, are you going to turn your heels away from him? وَمَنْ يَنْقَلِبَ عَلَىٰ عَقِبَيْهِ فَلَن يَضُرَّ اللَّهَ شَيْئًا. And whomsoever is going to turn away, turn his heels away, turn his back away, that will not in the least cause harm to Allah. So therefore, when we are making our dua, the point is we are in need of the Creator. We should not be labeled under the misconception that when we are making a dua or having that high expectation and then questioning that I am making dua is going unanswered, what is the problem? Meaning as if though we expecting everything to happen instantly. It is a journey that we have, building our connection with our Creator, engaging in salah, in prayers, in durood, in azkar, and many of the azkar where he sallallahu alaihi wasallam had given us to learn, to memorize in times of difficulty, in times of grief, in times of depression. And one of those hadiths is when we say that ana abduka, if I am your servant, and when we accept that we should be in the servitude of Almighty Allah Ta'ala, we accept that madin fina hukmuk, adlun fina qada'uk. Madin fina hukmuk, whatever your decree, whatever you have decreed, we accept because it is from the decree of Almighty Allah Ta'ala. And just like how the qada and the decree of Allah, when Almighty Allah Ta'ala decrees a matter and matters had come to pass and we had faced some challenges in our life, it is like the accepting the qadr and the decree of Almighty Allah Ta'ala. Madin fina hukmuk, adlun fina qada'uk. Turning to Almighty Allah Ta'ala with the dua, nas'aluka bi kulli ismin sammayta bihi nafsak aw 'allamtahu ahadan min khalqik aw ista'sarta bihi fi 'ilmi al-ghaybi 'indak an taj'ala al-Qur'an al-'azim rabi'a qulubina wa nura sudurina wa jila' ahzanina wa dhahaba humumina wa ghumumina. So when we also make a dua and we are asking Almighty Allah Ta'ala to remove us from times of anxiety, depression and stress, then nas'aluka bi kulli ismin huwa sammayta bihi nafsak. We ask you by every name that you have named yourself, or you have taught anyone from your creation, or you have kept it hidden fi ilmi al-ghayb 'indak. But again we have the Quran and using the Quran, and تَجْعَلُ الْقُرْآنَ الْعَظِيمُ رَبِيعَ قُلُوبِنَا. So the Quran becomes like the spring or the autumn of our heart, when the heart is full of darkness, and when we have so many great challenges that we may have in our life. We have to turn back to that which Almighty Allah Ta'ala has given us and shown us so many of the solutions to the many of the problems that we are facing. The moment we have abandoned the Quran, the moment we have kept ourselves, distant from even in its recitation, how much of time do we allocate for the recitation of the Quran? So when we are making a dua, أن تجعل القرآن العظيم ربيع قلوبنا ونور صدورنا, and this Quran should be a light for our heart or chest, وجلاء أحزاننا وذهاب همومنا وغمومنا. It can be that this Quran that Allah Ta'ala has given, this gift that we have, a means of removing the sadness and the grief, anxiety. But the problem is, if we only take the Quran as a book, but we are not, or we have abandoned in its tilawa, in its recitation, we have abandoned the Quran in its application, then this dua of the Prophet ﷺ, when we are saying, make this Quran a means where it will remove the grief and the sadness and the depression. But where is the Quran in our life? So we need to question ourselves that our deen and our Islam is a complete way of life. We already going to see 20 days of this month of Muharram pass by so very fast. And that is the reality of our journey in this dunya. Every day there may come different types of challenges. Every time you may feel that sometimes you are in a very dark tunnel and your journey seems to be full of darkness. But remember again, at the end of every dark tunnel there is light. So we have to look forward, we have to turn, engage in our dua and prayer. وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ. Because Almighty Allah Ta'ala is saying, Inni qareeb, I am near. And Almighty Allah Ta'ala is also saying, Ujibu. It's like saying, you just have to make the dua. And whenever you are making the dua, I answer the call of every caller when he makes a dua, when he makes that prayer, when he turns to Almighty Allah Ta'ala. Just like how when there is so much of challenges and difficulty in many places where there is also fear of life, where the life of the believer, the blood of the believer is so cheap, just like how there is fear of one's honor, one's dignity, one's property, meaning the great challenges that a people are facing, and making the dua, turning to Almighty Allah Ta'ala, Allahumma inna naj'aluka fi nuhurihim wa na'udhu bika min shururihim. Because you are putting your trust in Almighty Allah Ta'ala. If they are creating the mischief in the land and they are spilling the blood, yes indeed, you have to seek the protection of Allah from their shurur, from their evil, from the shar and that which mischief they are creating in the land. We are living at a time where we have so many places in parts of the world where there is great fear of life, just like how the world knows and sees the complete lockdown of communication in Kashmir, and the sad reality of how many days have gone by for a people to be in total, when you speak about what about those restrictions that have been placed on over 8 million people. Imagine, and living through these days of great difficulty and challenges, we think that there are so many du'as and prayers from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that those du'as are not ordinary du'as, because these are du'as where we have to seek the great protection from Almighty Allah Ta'ala. And when we turning to Almighty Allah Ta'ala, and when we know that there is this dua in the Quran, وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ أُجِيبُ دَعْوَةَ الدَّاعِ إِذَا دَعَانِ. because it does happen many a times. You will find that there will be the natural emotions and feeling that we have to do something. We have to stand up to the right of those people who are facing oppression. We have to, because silence in the place of those who are committing oppression, indeed, when you are neutral, it is as if though you are siding with the oppressor. So one cannot even remain neutral. It is just like saying silence that has to be broken. There cannot be a solution for a people when people are just looking as standbys and watching and waiting for some type of breaking news. And also at such a time, there is also the great danger in this day of social media, where you have instant communication, and many a time you have news which could be fake news sometimes of and connected to another place, or even if it may not be related to a certain place, certain individual, and it's been spreaded out without any verification, then that also is a great danger of creating more confusion. So we have to bear in mind that yes, indeed, the month of Muharram, when we entered this month of Muharram, we reflected on the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Afdalu siyam ba'da Ramadan shahrullah al-Muharram," the month of Allah, which is Muharram. And just like how in this month of Muharram there was a very special day which we had passed, that Ashura, the 10th of Muharram. And when it was the 10th of Muharram, we reflected on the legacy of Musa alayhi salam, how Almighty Allah Ta'ala saved him from Fir'aun, the Zalim, the tyrant, saved him from Fir'aun and his army. And when Almighty Allah Ta'ala saved Musa alayhi salam and the Bani Israel, the children of Israel who were enslaved by the Fir'aun, when Fir'aun gave the order for every child that was born to be slaughtered, and he allowed the daughters to be spared, then think about in our time where there is, we can say it is like saying whether it is the boy or a girl, whether it is the elderly or the young, people are being massacred, people are being butchered, there is bloodshed, and there is so much of fitan and fasad and mischief in the land. What do you and I do when we witness such type of atrocities? Is it not that we have a duty and responsibility to stand up, to just stand up against the oppression and those who are the zalimeen and the tyrants, whomsoever is in that capacity and he is in that position of authority and he remains silent. His silence and being neutral also to those zalimeen is as if though he is on the side of the oppressors, because on the day of Yawm al-Qiyamah, Almighty Allah Ta'ala, He will deal with every individual, every person, whomsoever is the ruler, his subordinates, the people, whomsoever had that power of authority, whomsoever had that position. And what is the minimum that one can do? So dua is indeed, in itself, it is ibadah. When there is difficulty, when there is great challenges, when we turn to Almighty Allah Ta'ala in the wake of such great difficulties and we make a dua, Allahumma inna naj'aluka fi nuhurihim wa na'udhu bika min shururihim, and we are praying and making dua that Allah Ta'ala bring about a condition and remove those who are in such difficult, pitiful condition. What will be the reality of those who had that power to stop such type of oppression and zulm and tyranny? Think about how Almighty Allah Ta'ala dealt with Fir'aun and his army. When we speak about Ashura, there is a lot of discussion about what happened on this 61 year after Hijrah, when the beloved grandson of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was martyred on the plains of Karbala. Yes, indeed, that day the sun rose upon that very location and place on the day of Ashura, on the 10th of Muharram, 50 years after the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam had passed away. So we have to bear in mind that history, the pages of history are full of those amazing great personalities whom played a very important, significant role in many a times. We have the examples of the likes of, even if you take the likes of Genghis Khan, or you take the likes of Salahuddin al-Ayyubi, or even if you take, and going back to the great companions, the like of Khalid ibn Walid radiallahu anhu, we have to reflect and see again the lives of those Sahaba and those companions. What role did the many people during their time, what did they play to establish justice in the lands? And that is what our deen teaches, to bring and to establish justice in the land. The Quran also gives us a beautiful verse, وَلَا يَجْرِمَنَّكُمْ شَنَآنُ قَوْمٍ عَلَىٰ أَلَّا تَعْدِلُوا اِعْدِلُوا هُوَ أَقْرَبُ لِلتَّقْوَى. I'dilu is bringing about adl, bringing about justice. How can you establish justice? On the one hand, you will find that there will be those who have an agenda, yuriduna ay yutfi'u nur Allahi bi afwahihim, Allahu mutimmu nurihi walau karihal kafirun. They intend and they want to extinguish the nur of Allah with their mouths. So they will be speaking and they will be making very different blatant statements, and they will be undermining the beautiful teachings of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They will be condemning and they will be passing disparaging remarks against the identity and behavior and character of the Muslim. But yes, indeed, the Muslim his example should be taken directly from the life and seerah, an example set by the beloved Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How much of the life and seerah have we studied so that we can reflect on his entire life and seerah, and how much do we know about the great personality Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that Almighty Allah Ta'ala in the Quran reminds us, وَلَوْ كُنْتَ فَظًّا غَلِيظَ الْقَلْبِ لَانْفَضُّوا مِنْ حَوْلِكَ فَاعْفُ عَنْهُمْ وَاسْتَغْفِرْ لَهُمْ وَشَاوِرْهُمْ فِي الْأَمْرِ. This is the great reminder of the beautiful character of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that if you were fazzan ghalizan, if you were like stern and harsh, they would have disbanded from you, or they would have moved away from you. So it shows that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he had a very high standard of character. وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَىٰ خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. It also shows that the Prophet ﷺ, he is a prophet of mercy, rahmah, forgiveness. فَاعْفُ عَنْهُمْ. Forgive them, pray for their forgiveness, bring them into consultation. This is where we take our great examples from the Prophet ﷺ, because there will be those that when a person has left the dunya, and as the poet says, مَا لِلْمَيِّتِ لِجُرْحٍ إِلَامٌ, no matter how much you may try and bring harm to the person that has passed away, he has left the dunya, and it is as if though you are speaking ill of somebody that has passed away, left the dunya. You cannot in the least bring harm to him, because he is in the life of the hereafter, and that is the life that we all should be striving to attain, in the sense of elevating our rank in that place which Allah Ta'ala has kept for those who leave this dunya on iman. We have to pray and make dua that Allah Ta'ala grant us husn al-khatima. Nas'alullah, Allahumma inna nas'aluka husn al-khatima. And after the break, inshallah, we will continue with our reflection program. Keep watching. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.